Wonderful gentlemen. At the far end, we have Kevin Osito, who's Executive Director, County Governance Watch. At the center, we have Enoch Momanyi, an analyst and a gentleman at large. Thank you very much for making time here, to be here. And lastly, we have Odhiambo Ramogi, MD LM Capital. Thank you, gentlemen, for making time here.
Thank you.
Definitely, you know, I call you guys excellencies most of the time, and you're shocked. You're saying, we are not excellencies. When somebody calls you an excellency, they want to borrow something from you. Yeah, but that's not the case.
They are propping you up.
They are propping you up, definitely. But State of the Nation address, second one for President William Ruto. From your perspective, starting with Ramogi, from your perspective, compare for us the contrast between the first State of the Nation address that he had a year ago and this second one. How do you see, what are the contrasts between these two?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us in your studio, Noah. The honeymoon is over. Last year when the president was doing the State of the Nation, he was still having the after effects of enjoying over 7 million votes, enjoying support from across the nation in many parts of the country. At that time, Kenyans were still hoping that somehow, somewhere, the economy will get better and that Ndi economics will yield the desired results. At that time, we had seen the signs and the symptoms that the G2G is not working, but we were still hoping that the price of fuel will come down, the cost of living will come down. And so people were still generally hopeful. Right now, the president is coming to address the nation after the Gen Z protests. And the young people came out in large numbers to tell the president in no uncertain times they don't have jobs and they are not happy with his economic policies. They are not happy with his overtaxation, and that has not really been addressed. The political angle of it, because there were three facets to it. There was the political, there was the governance, and then there was the economic. The political angle of it, the president seems to have managed nicely with the brouhaha with Raila, and now he has the support of the... It's not clear who is in opposition and who is in government. It's just very gray. Yeah? Everybody is in government and everybody is in opposition.
Gray-based government.
Gray-based government. So he has managed the politics in that at least now he feels stable, there's a sense of stability. But the governance issues, the corruption issues that Kenyans raised, the issues of arrogant leaders, stepping onto the feet of Kenyans, that has not been raised, addressed. The economic issues, yes, finance bill fell, but now Mbadi has come smartly and brought finance bill from the back door and called it a very technical term, Tax Amendment Bills 2024. But that one is a finance bill.
very detailed. So economic.
It is. So the three issues that Kenyans wanted handled have not been handled.
Okay.
So as he goes to Parliament today, it is very difficult. It's a very difficult speech to make.
Yes.
And I wish him all the best.
All right, definitely. Enoch Momanyi, do you share the sentiments of Bwana Ramogi, His Excellency here?
No, thank you for, first of all, inviting us here. And firstly, I agreed with him to some extent, and I might also not agree because we may have different views and different ways of seeing things. However, last year the president was addressed us and told us more of what he intends to do. The Gen Z protests were not there, as my brother said. Now he comes in and addresses us more on what he has done and how he intends to achieve his agenda that he set out in the first State of the Nation address and in his campaigns in the year 2022. We must also give him the opportunity. Just say, governments, even though they are perpetual, everybody once elected, he comes with a different agenda, a different way of doing things. Even a child, when he's born, they don't start eating githeri and chewing beef immediately. They have to go through that breastfeeding process. You wean them. They start slowly. Okay. And even when they're teething, they have a few problems here and there. But most importantly is that he must now tell us how his agenda is, and he must make us understand the way he sees things, because most of us as a country, I keep referring to the journey of the Israelites from Egypt. You know, they left Egypt, went to the wilderness, and they stayed in the wilderness for quite a long time. Okay. Reason being, they were quarreling, asking for the pumpkins and the vegetables they were eating in Egypt.
Are you equating jobs to running of Egypt?
when in the wilderness they were just having manna. Okay. You know, it is important that we understand that change is important. Right. And when change comes, we must also be ready. Because most of the things that the Kenya Kwanza government is focusing on, and that's my view, is they're focusing on changing the fundamentals of how our government has been over time. Okay. You know, since 1963, we've had a certain way of doing things. Okay. And most of the projects and the programs that the president is coming up with are somehow socialistic. Yeah? That which requires those that have to give more for the have-nots, not to get something. Okay, definitely. It is just a minute. Yes. It is not the way we've been wired as a country, not the way we've been nurtured as a people, because we are more capitalistic in our minds. So when socialistic things come up, those who have always feel the pinch. Okay. And we want to say no to these things, as my brother here wants to feel that.
Sido is our president, and some of the programs that have been highlighted.
I hope Sido will have to put him on to task.
Definitely, we're coming.
How he equated us requiring jobs with the garlic of Egypt.
Definitely.
We are starting.
We are starting slowly by slowly.
We are starting slowly.
But definitely, from your perspective, Sido, just listening to Momanyi, because he's giving the other side of the coin.
And it's more
and there is more to that. But from your perspective, is the government, actually the president, addressing a totally different country than he addressed a year ago?
No, thank you so much for this opportunity. And the answer to that question is yes. In fact, if you look at a majority of what the president said in his last State of the Nation address, and the context then, which was much more realistic to what he was saying, because you were testing his presidency and really acclimatizing to the sense of his demeanor as a president, in the sense of course, the narrative of what tutapanga, tumetenga, and all those things against what the Kenyans expected, and failure to deal with those issues against the background of the State of the Nation address and what the Constitution in Article 132 expects, led us to the Gen Z moment. Of course, the country was boiling, it was burning, it was there, not burning like smoke is coming out, but indeed that there were lots of dissatisfactory elements that Kenyans felt like, yes, government, and particularly the president, should be able to address these issues. Today, and I remember at that point in time, the president spoke about 4 things. I remember digital superhighway, I remember affordable housing, which is still the same game. I remember issues around SMEs and Hustler Fund. I remember issues around agriculture and cheap fertilizer. A few weeks post the State of the Nation address, Kenyans were treated with actually fake fertilizers and concerns around impeachment of, not impeachment, but yes, impeachment of CS and all that followed. Today, there is seemingly nothing much that has changed, because it is not the Gen Zs who are demonstrating and saying it, but it is actually his closest friends and allies, the religious leaders, who are telling him, by the way, things are not as they look. Of course, you still carry on with affordable housing and all these concerns, But that is not what we are expecting based on what you told us last year. Now we want to see numbers. We want to see figures of young people who are getting these jobs and not stories around labor migration into other countries.
Yes.
Not stories about the inability of universities and institutions of learning to really manage themselves and carry through the expectation of young people who are in those universities, given the context of things. And at this point in time, we're also saying that the state of the economy is so bad that, yes, you have reduced, for example, the cost of flour, but there is no money in our pockets to be able to buy that flour. So it is somewhere, yes, you're talking about it, it is affordable, it is cheap, quote unquote, but we don't have money to buy it.
Okay.
It's coming at a point in time, Noah, just to finish up this thought, when the CS of finance who was supposed to be sanitizing and salvaging the government through broad-based mechanisms of a merger between Kenya Kwanza and ODM, is telling us that we are losing 2 billion shillings in a day, which is not far from what a previous president, particularly President Uhuru Kenyatta, told us. Now, the question that the president should be helping us to understand is, what measures are we putting in place to deal with these gaps and loopholes that are actually making us lose 2 billion? Because if you were to do a simple arithmetic of 2 billion per day for a whole year, is close to 720 billion. 720 billion is not even half of what governors are asking, you know. 720 billion is not even up to what the nurses, the doctors, the teachers are actually asking. If you look at the budgets that go into education, the equitable share that is supposed to go to the counties, and then we are told there is no money to respond to these issues, including the challenges we have with universal health care around Shisha and also NHIF. So the president is facing a nation that has a lot of questions, lots of hopelessness, and I don't know how he's going to address this.
Definitely, and you know, you've said around Shisha and like it's getting smoky here. That's very dangerous grounds right there. But that as it may, we are looking at a very interesting parliament. Looking at the first State of the Nation address, we had walkouts. Right. We had a form of protest of saying we are not in tandem with what you're saying. And today, we are in a broad-based environment. In fact, just today, after this Adani story of what is happening in the United States, now clips are emerging, of course, the Raila Odinga supporting Adani deal, the president supporting. It seems Parliament today will be very cordial and very smooth. Everyone will be on board. Is that the expectation, Mr. Robert?
No, in all honesty, Parliament is now in the pocket of the executive. In all honesty, the parliamentarians know it, the public know it, the president know it. Everyone knows that Parliament now is an extension of State House. Whatever State House wants shall be passed without question, as long as, of course, State House takes care of some of the small needs of members of Parliament. So I expect that the mood will be very cordial. And I think this is why, as members of the public, we need to hold parliamentarians to a higher standard. Because it's too easy for them on two grounds. One, anybody who goes with an ODM ticket in an ODM zone shall win. That is forever established. It is the law, it is the practice, it is the principle. So in fact, if I have intentions of winning, I don't need to cajole the public with a lot of English or a lot of Kiswahili. I only need to go to the party bosses and cajole them accordingly. And then after that, now I will go and be elected. And so after I've been elected, you now understand the game. That in fact, I don't need to meet the needs of the people who voted for me. I only need to answer the phone call of the people who gave me the ticket. And this is ODM, this is UDA, this is WIPA, this is all the political parties. And so that now, when, for any reason, the party leaders are taken captive and given broad-based shares in a government, then the members of parliament have nothing to say, nothing to do. It is a high time that we hold these people to a higher standard.
Definitely.
And I am looking forward to the president giving us an IEBC. Because Gen Zs are only waiting for IEBC so that they can go to IEBC and tell IEBC, fire these ladies and gentlemen. We don't want them.
Definitely.
And I think that standard will bring them back to life. But allow me to respond to something that Mr. Mumanyi said.
It was paining in the
It
soul.
was paining.
Why?
But how can we equate our need for jobs for the garlic of Egypt? I know I'm a preacher. I read the Bible in public and I love the Lord. But bwana wewe usitumie maandiko vibaya kwa siasa. Tafadhali don't use the scriptures wrongly in politics. The fact of the matter is, we as the public have a right to demand good services from the government that we have elected. We as the public have a right to communicate to our government, this is what we want, this is what we need. What you are telling us is not what you need. What you are telling us about housing, we have a feeling that it is just an infrastructure product that you're looking for a way to sanitize your corruption proceeds. We have a right to tell the government that we don't want corruption. We have a right to tell the government that your finance bill sucks. Now, when, of course, we have said so, even the church now is vindicating us. And the church is saying that, and they have read the Bible more than you, Bwana Mokaya. Next time, at least bring a lady. We will fight less.
You'll be a gentleman.
We will be a gentleman. And they have read the Bible more than you. And they are saying that, Your Excellency, Bwana, no, you are doing wrong. That cannot be equated to the garlic of Egypt. And that cannot be termed as complaining.
Definitely, you feel were your sentiments misconstrued by this good preacher?
Clearly so. What I equated to that is, he knows, as a preacher, he knows that the trip or the journey from Egypt to Israel was to take 40 days. But it took them 40 years. Why?
40 years, yeah.
Because God was a bit alikasirika nao kidogo when they started complaining about whatever food they had in Egypt and they did not have now when they were in the wilderness. If we continue complaining as a country, we are not complaining, we are communicating. Okay, we are communicating, yes, I agree. We are communicating,
yes.
But we are ever in political rumbles.
Okay.
Yeah? If we put the nation in this state of always politicking and not giving government an opportunity to implement whatever they have in mind.
Okay.
We don't give the president an opportunity. We see caricatures of him every now and then. The Gen Zs post the Gen Z protest. Every other thing is criticized. Every other thing is looked at with that political sort of lenses, with the corruption sort of lenses. We need to now put some brakes onto that and allow, give an opportunity to the president and the government that he has in place to try and implement whatever agenda he has for us.
Okay, definitely. And I wanted to follow that up, Mr. Momanyi. Mokaya.
Yes.
So, apologies for that.
Yes.
I'm even rebranding you, yeah?
Momanyi is
Baptizing in
my
afresh.
Mr. Mokaya.
Momanyi is my contact.
Yeah, definitely. But the role of Parliament as oversight, there's a reason why, as you can see right there, even the Deputy President, our new Deputy President is already on the ground, ready to receive the head of state. But there's a reason why the President is addressing the National Assembly, the Parliament. That oversight role is very critical. Do you think they have done their job effectively if going over the past since the 2022 election? Have they done their jobs as they should?
If I view it as a citizen, I may say they have tried to some extent because, the 2010 Constitution does not separate Parliament so much from the executive or the judiciary.
What do you mean?
There is only one government, yeah? But a government that has an executive arm, a judiciary, and a legislative arm. So which means they must work in tandem. And oversight does not mean that, therefore, you have to boss yourself above any other arm of government.
Okay.
If we have Parliament trying to overreach the executive, it's wrong according to our constitution. If the judiciary or even the executive tries to have that overreach on the National Assembly, Senate, or even judiciary, it's also wrong. So they must work in tandem. The oversight role, I don't know how we will gauge it. Is it by just criticizing or, you know? It is not their role. Yeah?
I want to invite
it is not. No, let us
just finish up the moment.
We have baptized you, Momanyi. Please just accept and move on.
Momanyi is my dad's brother, so I'll still take it.
Your uncle.
Though deceased.
Yes.
Yeah. Parliament has done its role.
Okay.
If I don't know, we are recently trying to criticize them over doing what they were supposed to do by impeaching the former deputy president. I don't know what we want Parliament to do, but they are doing their job. And you know, oversight is done by committees, mostly. It is not done in the plenary, most of the times. In the plenary, they do legislative and maybe responding to committees, chairs responding to questions by members of Parliament.
All right.
So we might not see whether they are doing it correctly, because that's done through committees.
Okay.
It is not in the plenary or in the floor of the House.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And briefly, as you finish
they are doing it. Just yesterday, you saw the Senate.
Yes.
With the CS land. Yeah. That is doing that is Parliament doing their role. Of course, there is that I've said we have a perspective that we view them with, that is of they're deep in the pockets of
the executive.
The executive, as Mchungaji said here.
Okay.
But I would want us to take away that view.
Okay.
And be positive. You know, this negativity all the time.
Definitely. And thank you very much, Mukaya. As much as we've branded you Momanyi,
I said I'll
you've
take
also
it.
branded him Chungaji.
No, he said
dangerous.
He said he has read the Bible more than me.
I get the point, but definitely. Mchungaji. And another one coming. But Osido, you're a governance expert.
Yes.
And looking at this, comment on this aspect of Parliament. Its role. There's a reason why the president is doing this in Parliament, and there is a crucial role that they play. And so far as we look in the broad-based government, it's a different conversation. I mean, how do you interpret all this, even responding to some of the issues raised by Mr. Mukaya?
I wanted to invite him to a governance class where we say that the arms of government are distinct. They are independent, but interdependent. The only term we normally say is that neither should be able to interfere with the responsibilities of the other. Now, in that interference, you do not run away from accountability. That is why Kenyans go to court to petition Parliament as an accountability measure. And the judiciary can be able to interpret that to say that you have elected leaders in Bunge, so let them go